I cannot believe someone so respectable, so honorable, would come in here and destroy my robots. Your reign of terror ends here, Silver Shroud. Meh. Greetings, fellow makers. I'm Prop Maker Bill Duran. Welcome down to my shop, and today I'm going to show you how I painted my Mechanist helmet. San Diego Comic-Con is just around the corner, and my wife Brittany and I have been jamming real hard on our Fallout costumes. I've got more armor to make for my Mechanist costume, and I painted up the helmet. So I figured I'd give you a look into how I did it and how I'll be doing the paint job on the rest of my armor. Before painting this guy, I sealed it with a bunch of latex rubber that was pigmented with some black acrylic paint. So the base is a nice, sturdy, durable black rubber. The majority of this paint job was done with rubber cement paint. In fact, my pal Frank Ippolito did a really good video on Tested's channel talking all about rubber cement paint. You should go check out that video for sure. There's a ton of really comprehensive information there. But here's the cliff notes for my helmet. Rubber cement paint is made using Naphtha, which is a thinner, and of course, rubber cement. These are mixed together to thin the rubber cement a whole bunch so that it's probably thin enough to run through an airbrush if you want to. This is the base. That base gets mixed up and set aside. Then you pick your pigment. For this one, I used some oil paints, which is necessary. I found out that acrylic paints won't mix with Naphtha. So with my oil paints in hand, I got a silver and a graphite, a darker metallic color there. I set about painting my first layer of paint. I mixed up a little bit of that silver paint and then brushed on a few really thin layers using a raggedy chip brush. I wanted it to be kind of streaky with lots of lines and contrast. I didn't want to go for total coverage on this layer. This was to keep things a little bit more contrasty, a little bit more textured. So I did a couple of layers with this lighter silver paint until I was happy with it. Then I mixed up a little bit of that darker graphite paint with my rubber cement base and added another layer, again with a really ratty chip brush, just to add a little bit more contrast and streaks and lines and texture to the surface of my metallic looking helmet. Remember when you're doing this kind of work that you can always add more paint, but it's tricky to take it off. So it pays to just add a little bit at a time and do it in multiple layers. The M shape on the forehead was done in a similar fashion, mixed up a little bit more rubber cement paint, this with more of a copper color. This was just brushed on with a small brush, and I tried to cover it as best as I could. Once this base coat of paint was all nice and dry, I made sure to seal all of it using a varnish. I like this matte varnish that comes in a spray can. It dries really fast. It takes away the tackiness of the latex rubber, and it seals it really, really well. I sealed it so that I could do some weathering on top of that. Now, this isn't any sort of really fancy weathering. I just used some acrylic paints, a brown, a black, a burnt sienna, mixed it up a little bit, and mostly just brushed a bunch of it all over the areas I want to be kind of dirty, and then wiped most of it away with a damp paper towel. I repeated the step over the entire helmet until I was happy with the results. And I did a little bit here and there to sort of add some rust streaks and some dirtier spots all over the helmet, like it's been knocking around the wasteland for a few hundred years. You can see that compared to a cleaner section, the weathering sure does an awful lot to add some more contrast and a little bit of depth to your paint job. And there you go, that is the total paint job for this helmet that I plan on duplicating for the rest of my armor. But wait, there's more! That's right, there's a couple more things I did to finish this helmet. But first, I gotta tell you, of course, about the Foamsmith books. Ta-da! These are our books on foam armor and prop making, with a lot of the techniques that I go over using this sort of fabrication and painting on this helmet, and a whole bunch more for whatever costume or prop project you're working on. So we have Foamsmith 1 on costume making, Foamsmith 2 all about prop making, both available at punishprops.com in both shiny, delicious printed versions, and the more convenient and cheaper digital versions, whichever flavor you desire. Again, Foamsmith books available over at punishprops.com. Head on over there, get your copy today. And now, back to the build. Here's a couple more things I did to finish off this helmet, mostly for durability. Now, I've run into things in the past where the latex will actually peel off of the foam. This latex does bond fairly well to the foam, but it can peel off, especially around the edges of your armor like on my Lord Shaxx armor. After having done Lord Shaxx, I learned that there's a better way. How about it? I made sure when I was applying my latex that I applied enough around that inside lip to create a nice thick layer of rubber on the inside. Then I could trim a nice clean line along the inside rim of my helmet and peel off the excess latex. Then I went in with some of my contact cement and brushed a layer of that over both the rubber and the foam. I also prepared some EVA foam strips, also by brushing on some contact cement. Once that contact cement was nice and dry, about 5 minutes later, I could lay it across that line, that dividing line between the foam and the latex, to bond those pieces together and to keep the latex from peeling up. I did something similar along the inside of the eye sockets, creating a little thin lip in there that would keep the rubber from peeling off the eye socket before putting in a little bit of super glue and then gluing in my lenses. Once that was all good to go, there was only one more thing to do, and that is to glue in the fancy pants antennas that I 3D printed last week. I had drilled in some ear holes, and this is where those guys were going to get affixed permanently. All I had to do was put a little super glue in there and then mash the antenna part into the ear hole and it would glue there permanently. This would also hold that little lip of rubber in and keep it from peeling out. At least I hope so. Now, of course, the part that got glued is just that little socket part, and I can still unscrew my antenna. And this is gonna make traveling with this helmet much, much better without having to worry about bumping into and breaking off those antennas. There you go, the helmet is all done. This is great. I love how it turned out. Now all I have to do is make the rest of the armor look like that. In fact, I have to finish the rest of that armor. It's staring at me right there, I can see it. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video. As always, the materials I used are linked in the description down below if you want to follow along at home. Of course, you can go to punishprops.com to see a whole bunch more prop and costume making goodness, including grabbing your own copy of Foamsmith or Foamsmith 2. Hey, are you going to San Diego Comic-Con? Are you making a costume for that? Awesome, I want to hear about it. Tell me in the comments down below and we'll chat about it. It's going to be great. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. It's going to be awesome. Just a couple weeks ago, we can do this. Okay, I had better get back to work on that costume because it's not going to finish itself. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Now, happy crafting. See you at Comic-Con. There you go. That's the whole helmet all done. Ta-da! Oh my God. I just dropped everything. It's cool. Everything's fine. Well, I'll tell you what, the helmet's fine, so check that and the mark. Check off durability for the rubber there. There's a cat up there. He thinks he's burying his poop. He's not burying his poop. He's just clawing at the wall. Okay.